hopefully this is going to work. Thank you. I'm Kieran Lusick McDonald, your quantum holistic nurse, biofeedback, and everything au naturel. So let's talk a little bit today, and hopefully you're going to be able to get onto this live stream because we just had a horrendous time. I was like, I only had one open. I kept hearing myself in like double. I was like, where's the echo coming from? You never know. Electronics are being very weird, aren't they, this week? So how are you guys doing? Hopefully we'll just get everyone over here to jump over here because that's where we're going to be able to meet here. So let me know when you guys are able to join. We'll give it a few minutes, have it. So anyway, how was your week? Let me know how you guys are doing. It's been busy. A lot of people are having headaches. They are absolutely exhausted, like absolutely exhausted. Have you noticed that? I've had a lot of friends that are going, I'm tired. I can't get out of bed. I ache. I can't do this anymore. I'm like, really? Let's take a look at that. So anyway, why don't you come in here and we'll get things moving a little bit more into the upper echelons. And we're going to talk a little bit. I want to talk about biofeedback and biotunings today. So let's get, some interesting ideas here. Let me know in the chat room, do you have tuning forks? How many of you guys have got tuning forks? I think that's really, really amazing. So we are here and we're ready to go. So I think it's a really exciting thing. I have been playing with tuning forks, I bet you 20, 30 years. I really got into them when I started getting into frequency and biofeedback. And one of the things in here, like I said, a lot of people just don't realize how important it is to use sound. And why do we want to use sound? I mean, we've got voices. We could all be telepathic. I think a lot of us are getting there. How many of them are getting there? I know I'm starting to get a little bit more like, whoa, things are timing like I couldn't believe it today, and we're really getting into that sync. And I think that's where we're seeing that separation of coherence versus incoherence. And that's something I wanted to talk about today because a lot of people are just not coherent these days. They're not even here, let alone coherent. So those are some of the different things, if you want to take a look at and see what's going on. It's absolutely insane. And there are so many things affecting people. I just didn't even know where to start. I was like, I could go on and on and on, but please join in there because that's where it's going to be some of the biggest things here. And, a lot of people are throwing things like climate change and all sorts of stuff. I think it's absolutely nuts because there's so many of those areas, getting into what's been going on. People have no idea how this stuff is affecting them. And I mean, you can't help but realize that the increase in the frequencies, the increase in the stratos, the magnetic sphere, everything is going on right now. Have you guys noticed that? And this is absolutely insane because I've been looking at frequencies for a long, long time, right? And if you've never seen this, I really have to show it to you because it's absolutely nuts, and I want you to see this because until you've seen some of this stuff, you can't even describe it. People going, I don't feel well. And I'm like, of course you don't feel. This is why you don't feel well. This is something that came up here, and this is not new. I want you to see how we are being fried like little insects, little bugs. And this is actually just something. That's just the heat. That's the thermal. It's almost like then we could put the next rat and go into the radiation. But take a look at the stratos, the AI data centers here in Utah. So then this is not limited to the States, by the way. It's not. And they want to take over like 80, 100, 500, even up to 1,000 acres for some of these projects. It's insane what they're going to do. And this woman, it just blew me. How many of you guys heard about the woman that actually was on her Facebook and complained about it and was showing the taps coming out there? Because what they're doing is it's destroying the watersheds. It's destroying your wells. It's destroying the drinking water. And she showed the almost like black, brown, like mud coming out. Looks like something that was coming out of my colonic machine. And it was coming out her tap. And she said, how many people are going to get sick with different bacterial infections and stuff like this? It's going to knock it out. And you know what? They put her in jail for the evening. And then they let her out. But aside from that point, just for actually putting this kind of information up. So we can't help but notice what it's doing to the environment, to the animals, to the bee, to the birds, everything. Even your plants are getting fried. And there you're going to see, I want you to get a real great visual because, guys, that's going to be similar to what's going to be happening in these C40 cities, 15-minute cities, smart cities. It's happening everywhere. And you've got to remember, a lot of these towers that you're seeing the glows off of, right, off the apartment buildings, off the street lights, off your smart meters on the house, the water, the barn, the wherever it may be. And a lot of these have got, is Dr. Robert Young, when I was working and doing some stuff with him, he said, Karen, just remember the kill zone is 30 miles. Just make sure you know where the maps are and you're away from it. And I remember when I was in Alberta dealing with in the Susuni Nations and stuff out there, and one of the former Canadian military guys said to me, one of the vets, and he said, you remember 6G will travel along the ground in the earth. We can find you basically anywhere. It's like a tracking device. I went, good idea. Good idea to be like, cloaked as much as you can. But as you heard about the ghost murmur, well, where are you going to go these days, right? You guys have heard about the ghost murmur. This was just absolutely amazing. So one of those things in there is that we're going to take a look at that, because I really want you guys to take a look at this. The ghost murmur was actually happened a couple weeks ago, about 3 weeks ago. I talked a little bit about it. It's actually, it was highly classified, but it's a controversial surveillance type of technology. And it was, of course, developed by who other than Skunkworks, right? Lockheed Martin, right? And it's their detecting of the human or a individual's heartbeat. If they can do you, they can do your cat, your dog, anywhere, livestock. And it uses a quantum magnetic kind of like telemetry with AI that's built into there. So it can actually detect the signal of any human heartbeat. And don't think they don't have everyone's down, because they certainly do. What happened is American pilot was shot down in, we'll say, Iran. You know where it is, the 10th Stargate, and was spending several days kind of in mountainous terrains and caves to avoid being captured, right? And so what they did is they were able to exactly pinpoint and GPS him. GPS, get his latitude, longitude, and send in. So we're talking next level quantum physics. This is not new. This stuff has been out a lot of times 10, 15, 20, 30, if not 50 years or more. So what they're doing is these are basically synthetic little diamonds, and they're little biochips and little sensors with highly electrical magnetic, and they're so minuscule, obviously, right? And you can imagine how they have to filter out, like, as you think, echo cancellation. Well, they have to isolate everyone else's heartbeat away from him. So I think this is pretty easy. But as long as you're within 40 miles, boom, they got you. And think of how many times the planes go over, the drones go over, everything like that. So like I said, this is actually pretty wild stuff. So this ghost murmur, it's up there. And like I said, you really just have to take a look at it and go, holy crap, man. Like, holy crap. So don't think they can't find you, because they do. That brings into how many missing women and children have gone missing. So here's the quantum telemetry, the heartbeat detector, the quantum AI sensing, and there it is, developed by Lockheed Martin, admitted to. So now we're going to go, what are they not admitting to, right? So this is just even like looking how this really works here, right? We are looking at these kind of images, right? And again, like I said, yeah, where are all the missing women and children? Start thinking about these AI sensors. So you can do some reading. I'm going to put a little bit of this in the chat room so that you guys have an idea what to look at. We're going to talk about this sound thing, and let's just go back to the ghost murmur, because I think it's like, oh God, it's so fascinating when you actually think about it here, right? And so, like I said, if they can do this, what are they not telling you? And again, we all have that quantum biofield, right? So you got to remember there's a toroid. And like I said, I'm going to put this in here because there's a really great YouTube on it. And I've put it up on my, Facebook several times and everywhere else, because I think it's something that you guys really need to be aware of. When you start looking, this ghost murmur is absolutely insane how it actually works.
We built a $49 garden hose nozzle that makes every pressure washer on the market.
But what it is it's actually also able to start, and as you're starting to hear about NPCs, non-player, characters and kind of stuff for cloning or artificial, this type of thing, this is actually where it gets into some really wild stuff. Because again, we're going to have to be able to detect who's here and who's not here. And this becomes an issue, right? So I'm going to put this in here about the ghost murmur so you guys can go back and take a look at it. But I just want you to see it kind of a little bit. And again, I really hate this AI stuff, right? On here. I was just dealing with someone else. They go, what do you think of my, like, new ads and stuff like that? And I said, they're artificial. I don't know what it is. I see artificial, like anime and cartoons, and I just tune out. But like, they can't show us exactly what's going on, in here. And you got to remember, this is already declassified information, right? Here, like, this is pretty wild, So when you get into it, take a look here. So this is actually what they were doing here. So here's the little soldier that, there you are, picking you up in the middle of nowhere, and then you deploy your rescue team or whatever you need to, or drop the equipment that you need. And that is where they are. That's exactly how they found them, hiding in a cave. Hey, dude. Okay, so again, this is how a lot of the direct energy weapons are used, ground penetrating LiDAR, earth penetrating LiDAR and stuff like that. Like I said, the amount of reading people can do, like I said, when they said, well, I'm going to hide, I said, I don't think so. So this is how easy it was for them to actually detect someone. I mean, absolutely mind-blowing when you get it onto the field, right? And there they are. You got to remember, I remember was doing stuff at Project Ascension. Basically, certain, even the ISS and stuff like that, every 90 minutes, they are going over your house. And then you add the other, 10, 20,000 satellites of, not classified, but declassified and unclassified, and of course, unacknowledged projects, right? So these are part of the things too, like I said, you've got to be able to, in heck today on the computers here. And so one of the things in here, let's take a look at Mystifying Mark, which he's just hilarious, right? I think we were on at 11 o'clock my time. I went to listen to Drago Reed White. He was being interviewed also by Danny Henderson. So if you haven't seen that particular show, I'm going to invite you to look at some of this stuff. I was told to always keep my head down for quite a few years and to still keep it down. But, then I have other people that want me to go out and really start teaching some of this stuff. But some of the different things in here, and when you start looking at some of these different people that have been in these projects that are getting, I don't want to say total recall, but they're getting a lot of the recall. And that recall is coming back onto people. And so once you start realizing what's going on, you start listening to people. And like I said, even if you take 51% or take it with a grain of salt or do whatever you want, you're going to be able to go in here and take a look. So this was actually, I think Mark and I were watching that today with a couple hundred other people. So that's Drago Reed there. And of course, the lovely Danny Henderson from the Galactic Spiritual Informers group there in Connecticut, putting on an incredible disclosure event with people like David Icke, and again, say what you want. These are the forerunners in releasing information, and again, forbidden knowledge. You're going to see Billy Carlson. You're going to see people like Kathy O'Brien. And I really give it to Dave, very well versed in getting things out. And I just love her sense of humor. So like I said, take a look at that, see what people are putting out here. And like I said, take it with a grain of salt. If it doesn't resonate, put it in that filing cabinet. That's what I do a lot of times because you never know what's going to be happening, right? So I think it is pretty exciting when you start listening to some of this stuff and you're seeing a lot of people. And these aren't just, celebrities coming out or people being put on here and info, disinfo. A lot of these people I've known. And I think like in anything, none of us have it all. It's when we start putting our little pieces together that we seem to have that. But yeah, if we start looking at what we have there, take a look. I'm putting that in the chat room for you. Because in here, and then, I went into looking at a few other things today during my lunch break. And I thought, okay, let's see what we have. So I think that's really important to get the information out and see what you can do. So I want to welcome here. Kirsten's in here. Who's in here too. And Patricia, thank you. Patricia White's one of the First Nations elders and stuff like that. She's up in the Okanagan territory there. And we got a lot of stuff in that whole Okanagan, Shuswap, Secwepemc areas and stuff like that. A lot of people are very well versed in what's been going on with the targeted individual, with 5 and 6G, EMFs, EMPs, whatever's going to come. A lot of us have been affected, and a lot of people work within our communities and a lot of some of the different original tribes that we have here. So shout out to these people because they're doing a lot of really great disclosure and work out there. And, you know, a lot of them are involved in some of the stuff. I know that we will pass things back and forth. I know Patricia's always going, have you seen targeted justice? Have you looked at the matriarch thing or the gifting economy or different things like Lisa Wolf will do as well? So I think it's really important here. Now, a lot of people have been saying they've been getting headaches, right? And I noticed that you're saying too, Kirsten, yep, most afternoons through the days, I've had mild headaches, right? And one of the things in here that is, and I'm laughing, Mark goes, because I did, he goes, hi, Calm, which is my initials, right? And it's quite funny. You know, like either call me Care Bear or they call me, I'll say I'm calm. And I said, I'm making calm techniques. That's actually one of the things I'm doing. And I said, and they went, who is that? And I said, well, it's me, right? I said, here's the joke. I'll be the calm before the storm, right? Anyway, so what could I say? But one of the things in here is, like I said, there are so many things that we need to get our biofields intact, because why? Because a lot of these, as Patricia's talking about, they are talking about, because why? Because a lot of these, as Patricia's talking about, they are talking about putting some of these AI data sensors in here. So they're talking Merritt, they're talking Kamloops. We've got one in Grand Prairie. They want to do one by Waterton, out by Pincher Creek. You know, they're putting them one near Regina. You think of an area, they're going to try and hit all your cities, right? Your major cities, right? And then even out here, you've got things like Nelson. Every city is going to be set up for lockdown. They're all set up to be fried. Doesn't matter where you go. Calgary's insane. But anyway, so those are some of the things I think people need to take a look at. So let's get some information going on here. And one of the things as well, let's talk about simple things that we can do. Okay. And one of the most common things, I love to use the biofeedback because I just think it's the coolest, simplest thing. And there are some different ones out there. I just love running it at Insight Health Apps. So if you haven't got the Insight Health Apps, do take a look at that because there's so much information that we have there. It's like silly not to. And so one of the things I wanted to bring to people's attention is what's been going on, because you're going to need this. And the reason we have things like biofeedback, you can go from real basics, and then I'm going to go into what is the difference between one and the other, because a lot of people don't know. So in the chat room, if you want, we've got some really cool things here, and I'm going to put it in. So if you want to try one of the freebies, I want you to look at the freebies here, and it says you can do a trial, but more importantly is there's a thing called software downloads. And under software downloads, I'm going to show you about 3 or 4. And the reason why is because you can trial them. And I can do things where I can keep people like going on biofeedback back for like 2 to 3, 4 weeks, and they're not paying a cent. So these are some of the different things. I'm going to show you this because it's really kind of cool. So we've had a BioVibe out for a long time, and usually I don't go that much into it, but it's one of the things because I'm not a subscription girl. I really never liked it, but I've had students that have been on limited budgets and they just can't afford anything, and that's okay. So people are at the different levels. So this is something called the BioVibe, and you're going to see what we do. It's got a little button here. Okay, you can see it there. It's got a little recorder, and it says do AEIOU. But while we're talking, people can do the AEIOU, and these are really easy to do. While we're talking, people can do the AEIOU, and these are really easy to do.